What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittalk, the interview series where we meet with entrepreneurs in top fashion brands from all over the world and we ask them the questions that you guys have been wanting to hear. On today's episode, we have Austin Gayne, founder of Superheroes, founder of SuperX, and a ton of other notable businesses. I'm bringing Austin today, and before we get into it, I want him to introduce himself a little bit to those who are unaware of who Austin is. Give us a quick synopsis, and get us into the world of Austin Gayne.
Hey, great. Thank you for having me here. I'll be real quick. So anyone watching, is it worth the time real quick? So I don't have some giant Instagram following. I don't really have a lot of multipliers. I'm not around some crazy social groups. I basically built my business and my other businesses through literally just persistence and hard work. So if that sounds like you, this episode is worth a listen. But anyways, again, as he said, my name is Austin and I'm the founder of SuperX. And basically about 10 years ago, I got started in the fitness industry. And like everyone else, I wanted to be a fitness model. I wanted to be on the cover of magazines. And with a little bit of success and a lot of hard work, I kind of realized that it wasn't necessarily for me. So I pivoted and I found my true calling, which was the business side of things. Um, Basically, when I turned 19 years old, I got a job with a big time supplement company and influencers at the time, worked my way to sales executive within a year. I did that job for about 4 years and I crushed it. I helped this company really blow up and I just thought, hey, I could probably do this for myself. So that's when I decided to start my business. But, just like all of us, when we have a business idea, we think like, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? So with my background in fitness, I kind of waited until I saw the right opportunity. And for some reason, one day I was sitting at an Avengers movie in a movie theater and I was looking at the screen. And as you're aware, all the actors, they're pretty fit, they're pretty jacked. It's crazy the connection between superhero actors and fitness and then superheroes in general and fitness. So that's kind of how I got the idea for the company we're talking about today, SuperX. And that's how it was born, as I knew that there was a really deep connection with fitness and superheroes that nobody was really tapping. Yeah, that's how we are here today.
That's a phenomenal synopsis. There's a lot of other parts of Austin that obviously, you're a varied man. You have a lot of things going on in your life, and it's impressive to say the least. The one thing that I think so many people are going to get a tremendous amount of value from is the fact that you are, and I don't mean this in a bad way, you
Yeah.
are so ordinary. You are, anyone could put themselves in your shoes, and it's through the value of your ability to network, your ability to connect, your ability to work your ass off, your ability to just seize the opportunity. And I've seen you do it over the last 3 to 4 years. That's why you're the second, you're the second guest on this podcast, specifically because I think a lot of people can relate to the journey that you've been on. And I want to tap into that. The first thing I want to talk about is SuperX. It's such an exciting brand, and you already sort of took us into the world of how it came about. But what do you think, as a brand, what do you think makes SuperX such a attractive prospect for a lot of guys and a lot of people getting into fitness and a lot of people getting into this world? What do you think it is about the brand that just has that sizzle and that pop?
That's a great question. So basically, whenever you start a business, in my opinion, when you don't have giant influencer marketing, or like you said, you're just an ordinary guy just trying to figure out a path that's going to succeed, you have to think about the customer avatar. And what that means is, like, when you create a customer avatar, you basically create a fictional character and you say, this is my customer, right? It's Johnny. He's 25. He likes X, Y, and Z. He goes to this college. He makes this amount of money per year, and that's kind of like what you want to do when you're creating a business of consumer goods like mine. So basically, to answer your question, like, why does this brand resonate with our customer base is, it's crazy. And this is one of my strong suits. I'm not the best marketer. I'm obviously not the best at design. I'm not great at a lot of things, but one thing I think I've nailed down is understanding the customer and what they want and what the brand means to them. So I think about it, and it actually hit me over the last year. Even though I've been running the brand for over 3.5 years now, it's really hit me over the last year to what our customer or who our customer is and what the brand means to it. So I'll paint you a picture that we're all gonna understand, right? This is my customer right here, and this is a lot of people. So when you watch the movie Spider-Man, right, this character, Peter Parker, is so interesting because he's just a normal person. And he wants to stand out. He wants to be more than what he is. He's getting bullied. He's not getting the girls that he actually wants. He feels less than. He feels like he feels underappreciated, and that's what most people in the world do. They don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like like they matter. They don't feel like that they're important. So my brand, it resonates with customers really well because it allows them to purchase something that helps them feel extraordinary, or extraordinary. I said that word weird, but extraordinary. And that's really what we do. Is we are a clothing company. We make activewear, but more than anything, my mission isn't to create activewear. My mission is to create an experience and a feeling that when somebody gets a package from us, they feel extraordinary and they feel different and they finally feel like they can stand out. So I do that in two ways. The packaging itself and every step of the process, the customer journey is like what we like to call it. We make them feel like they're an actual superhero. And then step two, with the design and the products, if you look at our website, superx.co, and you check out any of our products, you're going to be like, wow, these are different than anything I've seen on the market. And there's a reason for that. When our customers wear these things to the gym, they're going to get looks. They're going to feel like they stand out. They're going to feel extraordinary. It's like our slogan is be extraordinary. That's our motto, and our mantra at SuperX. And when customers put on our activewear and they wear it to the gym, they wear it in the city, they wear it to wherever, they truly feel that way. And just like, Peter Parker, once he became Spider-Man and he started to gain superpowers and become an actual hero, then at that moment, if you listen to the comics and you watch the movies, then he started to gain that self-confidence, a self-worth, and ultimately became a really content individual. And that's our goal with our customers. It's not just to sell them activewear, it's to allow them to tap into that inner superhero, become extraordinary, and then over time raise the self-confidence, and also the self-worth, and make them content with themselves. So again, we are an activewear company, but our mission goes a lot deeper into the customer. And I really think that when you're starting a brand, don't just make a product and say, hey, this product's for everybody. You have to really identify a core avatar and a core customer, and then you just create products and solutions for that avatar. And that's something that I think that we do extremely well here. Is we're really strict with our branding vision. We try to stay very narrow. We don't branch out. We don't create products for everybody. We just create products for who our core avatar is. And fortunately, there's a lot of those people out in the world. So it's been very successful for us.
Yeah. Austin, you mentioned three things. And it's funny, we haven't had this conversation before, but you mentioned three things that we hammer in on Fittdesign TV when it comes to what you can do today to set up a successful brand. Number one is have an emotional or elicit an emotional reaction from your customers, which with everything you mentioned about Peter Parker and that journey from being an average person to something extraordinary, so many people could resonate with that. Two is focus on a niche and stay in your lane. And then three was just to have that direct focus and relentless ability to build a end-to-end customer experience. And you've done that phenomenally. I would say one of the things I admire so much about you is your strengths and you continuously play to your strengths. And one of your biggest strengths is your ability to take a project from A to Z and to execute on it. And I think that's where so many people are going to come up short, is being able to take that idea in their head and to stick by it and to watch it come to fruition. Austin, I have a couple other questions for you. And I think so many people are going to benefit and they're going to gain a lot of knowledge from it. The second one is, why the name SuperX? Like, I know that initially the brand was called Superheroes Fitness, then Superfit, then Super. Why the branding or the naming transition?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, we knew what we wanted to do. We wanted a name with the word super in it. And to be completely transparent, this is part of business. I love the name Superfit. I thought it was superheroes and fitness. That was the thing we're going for. But unfortunately, we got a cease and desist. So we had to pivot and we had to come up with a new name. And SuperX is it. It's that the X to me, even though, we were forced to come up with that name, it still means something. It's still valuable in my eyes and the customers. So when you're thinking just super, it just resonates with all of our products and all of our lines. It's just super. It's just out there, right? And then the X is more about the customer and the individual. Like I previously mentioned, the X is just short for extraordinary. That's it. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything, like it doesn't mean super extraordinary. It just means that super resonates with the products and the X resonates with the individual, in our eyes. And that's kind of the naming process behind it. But, just like I mentioned in business, you end up somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily mean from where you start to where you end, whether it's the name of your company or a product or a customer avatar or anything. So feel free to pivot, and as long as you're sticking true to your vision, when you pivot, it's still going to be, you're still going to keep true to the brand essence, I believe. Yeah.
Austin, that was a phenomenal response. But what I want to understand is, and what I think a lot of people looking to start their own brands, their own product lines would, would gain from, would be, what is the single largest struggle that you've had to face while building up the SuperX brand? And how have you, or how are you actively finding solutions to that struggle?
Yeah, so to be completely honest, there's two types of problems. There's business problems, and then there's internal personal problems. And while I do want to dig into the business problems, the more important thing to me is the internal problems, the problems that you struggle inside. And as someone who runs a business, meaning you are your biggest obstacle, and the biggest obstacle that I've had to overcome is patience. And here's why, right? So when you're surrounded by amazing individuals on social media and in person and all these things, you get this idea of what success is. Oh, a year from now, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be balling. I'm going to have a huge business.
Yep.
And that's the crazy part, is that's those types of people, that while that's fantastic, it's rare. The more common approach to business is the 10-year that linear type of business growth. So, for myself, one of the blessings and curses about trying to be around amazing individuals with successful businesses like yourself is that while it does motivate me, it also really brings me down, and it makes me lack patience, right? So having patience as an entrepreneur and a business owner is huge, especially if you're just a normal person and you don't have any big multipliers. You don't have things that are going to exponentially force you to grow. The only thing that you really have to have is patience to continue to grow. Be 0.1% better every day, be 1% better every day. Patience for me is the biggest struggle. It's like 3.5 years later, 4 years later, I'm looking around, and I'm content with what I've built, but I'm also not satisfied. And I just know that the superpower that I have to bring to the table is patience. Mm-hmm. Patience is going to be for someone who doesn't have all these multipliers and doesn't have all these crazy things that a lot of other people do, just a normal average guy. I have to be extremely patient and consistent over time. And over time, it's going to work off. It's going to work out for myself. And there's a quote that I want to leave you on, kind of around patience and consistency, by Jim Rohn. And it goes, "Success is an ordinary individual doing ordinary things extraordinary well." And I really love that quote. And that's all it is. There are other instances where someone, becomes successful in 6 months or a year or 3 years, but that's abnormal. That's rare. The normal is 5-10 years. It's a much different approach than you see on social media. So for me, patience is the hardest one to overcome, because I want it now. I see everyone else crushing it. I want it, I want it today. But the issue is that's not realistic for most people. And I had to accept, I'm just a normal guy. It's probably not going to be like that for me. So patience is a superpower that I continue to pursue, try to build. And over time, I really hope that I become a master at it,
I could not agree more. And Austin, you're someone that shows a tremendous amount of patience. And I know, as much as it's so difficult for you, because you are someone that knows how to connect with so many different people so well, you surround yourself with people that are really crushing it in life. And I think you use it to your advantage. And at the same time, it gives you that fire to push. But patience is key, especially in the early stages of starting any business. You can look at the highlight reels of the brands you look up to, the influencers you look up to, and you can sort of begin to imagine that that's what you should have right now, or that's the kind of success that you're going to have today. But that's so unrealistic. Coming from someone like you, which you're in the trenches every day, building with your team, building other businesses, taking care of your family life, taking care of your friends, taking care of everything that you need to do as a man and as a person in this world. It's, patience is such a virtue to have, and it's almost necessary. You can't have one without the other. You can't have that success without being patient and without being able to kind of go through the mud to get to where you want to get to. I think that's a phenomenal response, and so many people are going to get a lot of value out of that.
No, exactly. And one thing I wanted to touch on is, I'm just like we keep saying, like, I'm just a normal guy who chooses to, believe that one day my life is going to be extraordinary. I am going to be successful. And I think, the more people you find like that, because believe me, that is the normal. You can find a lot of people like that. The more people you find like that, and the more you adopt that as your personal philosophy, then the better off you're going to be. And I really think that I really believe that. I really believe that you have to be patient. And this is something that I have to remind myself every hour, like literally multiple times a day, because I am around and I am friends with, and I am networking with people who have these ginormous businesses or successful businesses. And, and sometimes, I question myself, but patience is the key in my opinion.
Of course. What's that famous quote? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, exactly. Comparison is the thief of joy. And it's so true. And this is, we're getting off of the social brand, but, Warren Buffett, if you guys are familiar with Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, talking about patience, he makes, I believe, something ridiculous. He makes one investment on average every 5 to 10 years. Like that's crazy. And every single day for about 6-8 hours a day, he's just reading. And that says a lot about the patience of some of the most successful people on earth. So if they're doing it, then it means that I got to do it. And I can't get distracted by, the success in a year or 5 years or 10 years. I got to be patient and stick true to my vision.
I could not agree more. Austin, the business world, especially when it comes to fashion brands and product brands and activewear brands, is so fiercely competitive. What's one thing that your competitors can never duplicate about the SuperX brand?
That's a great question. So I actually have a fear of this, right? So I know that these other brands, they have fantastic designers, and they have people that are working with them that are very, very talented. And I have a fear that, what if, X, Y, and Z brand, they just come out with a collection that's kind of like mine or even better. And it's and sometimes it's scary because I'm thinking well, it is that easy. You could just come out with a crazy design like ours. But the advantage that I have, and that if you're building a business, you have to have, is you have to know your customer. And this is what I talked about previously. But if you know your customer and what they want, it doesn't matter what anyone else throws out at the world or at your customers, because the customers trust you. And if it's like having a friend, right? It's like a friend that you consistently go to for your needs. If you have a friend that knows what knows who you are, knows what you like, and they consistently give you what you need, then you're not going to go looking elsewhere for that connection majority of the time. So for me, the thing that they can't take away or anyone else can take away, or the thing that really puts us in a place to where I know that we're going to still be in business 10 years from now or 5 years from now, is knowing our customers and know what is important to them. It's not, like I just mentioned, it's not just about providing a physical product. It's about helping them along their journey in life. And once you're a business who helps customers on their journey, and the customer is the hero, not the business. And that's what a lot of people confuse. A lot of people start a business wanting their business to be the hero. I look at this successful business, look at this big business. But when you realize and you humble yourself and you realize that the customer is the hero, and our job as a business is to help that hero along their journey, it really makes you think hey, we work for the customer in a way, we serve the customer. And I think that's what we've extremely nailed. I've nailed it extremely well, is realizing that our customers are our bosses. They are the heroes of the story. And we're just they're the James Bond and we're the Q, they're the Batman and we're the Alfred. And when you position your business, there's actually a book called Brand Story. You should check that one out. It's actually really good.
By who?
And essentially, I actually don't know. I forgot his name, but I've listened to the book several times. It's called Brand Story. And essentially what it tells you is exactly what I'm saying, is that position your brand as the helper and position your customer as the hero. And when you do that, you're helping your customers solve their issues. You're helping solve their problems. And when you shift the perspective as my brand's the hero, it's all about my brand, look at us, to look at the customer. What do they need? What can we do? Then you have an unfair advantage, because all the other companies that might try to steal an idea or do something similar, they're not thinking about what the customer needs and what they want or their journey. They're thinking, that brand is thinking about themselves and putting themselves as the hero. So a great parallel to this is Apple, right? Apple is not a hero. Apple helps its customers. They provide,
Mm.
from iPhones to MacBooks to iPads to everything that they make. They put their customer as the hero, and they create things that help their customers on their journey through life. And if you can do that, then you have an unfair advantage, and no one can take your business away from you.
I could not agree more. And I want to point something out to anyone who's listening to this podcast. Austin is clearly a very well-read person, and it's not something we've discussed before, but I want to point this out because this is the power of supplementing your life with knowledge, reading, exposing yourself to different thoughts, exposing yourself to experts. And this is someone who is hungry for knowledge and understands the gaps in his knowledge base and seeks to fill them in wherever he can for the betterment of his life. And this is, I would say, for anyone looking to build anything, be hungry to learn as much as you can. I think that is the one key trait that anyone looking to get into business should adopt is learn. You learn so much building your business, and a lot of people, they take personal experiences as cool. I've learned everything I need to learn from personal experience. That's great, but there's so much more to learn that you can if you seek the knowledge, especially through books. How would you rate
100%.
that part of your life as, would you say it's an integral part of everything you built today? Just that seeking or that hunger for knowledge?
That's a great question. I'm glad you touched on that. And that is something that is so true to my core, is learning and reading. And I've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for 10 years. And the thing is when you don't have benefits, I didn't go to college. I dropped out of college. When you don't have a network of people or a mentor or something and so on to teach you, you have to learn somehow. And learning from books, mentors, podcasts, talking to amazing individuals, networking, all of that together is what really encompasses a successful person. So when I had first started this journey of just, entrepreneurship and thinking about what do I want and kind of crafting a vision for my life, I knew that I didn't know all the answers. I didn't know anything, to be honest. I was just out of high school, didn't know what I wanted to do with life. So I started to look, and it's amazing because there are tens of thousands of books that you have access to at your fingertips through Audible, through a library, through a Barnes and Noble or bookstore. And you can just go in there. You don't even have to pay. Go walk into a bookstore, read the book, and leave. I used to do that before I could afford to buy books. I used to walk into a store, sit in there for 2 or 3 hours, drink a coffee, read the entire book, and then leave. I would do that for years and years. So basically, there's a lot of things in the business world today that people talk about, meditation and, this and waking up at this time and doing this and that. And while a lot of those things do help productivity, I believe, and focus, they're not necessarily integral. They're not 100%. You don't have to do that, because I know a lot of individuals who are super successful without those things. But one thing for me that's helped me in business, in family life, in personal life, and also developing myself into a human being and an individual that I'm proud of, is reading. And it's crazy. So one thing I heard, I don't know who I heard it from, but it was like an individual is going to spend they're going to spend thousands of hours, a couple of years of their life writing a book about a topic that they're an expert at. And you have to be very arrogant and you have to be very egotistical not to pick up that book and read that within a few hours, and that really stuck to me. And it's so true. So for me, what I do specifically is I read at least 1 to 2 hours every single day without failure. And I do this through Audible. I do this through physical books. I don't count podcasts as reading personally. And that's part of my daily ritual. And I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. And it's changed my life. It's made me a better businessman. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better friend. It's made me a better, son. It's made me a better family member, all of these things. And the crazy part is as you continue to develop your business, a lot of people just think, oh, your business relationships and success is all about how much money your business makes and all these things. But what they don't tell you is when you actually meet individuals who have successful businesses, they're judging you on your character. They're judging you on the things they're judging you on your how humble you are. They're judging you on all of these things. And it's not just how successful your business is. So by reading, you're able to not only become smarter, make better business decisions, but you're also able to become a better human being in every aspect, because you're learning wisdom and knowledge through people far smarter than yourself most of the time. My only advice, don't get caught up on the newest, hottest book of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Look through business books that are true and proven. It could be business, autobiographies, any type of book, but look for books that are proven, that there's a track record, that have been there for 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. And don't get me wrong, there are books that are great and they are new, but always just keep reading and finding those books that you're like, wow, this is a life changer. And then most importantly, reread those books that really speak to you. Because I don't know if you've ever read any book, even if you've read one and something stood out, I guarantee you, if you read that book in a year from now, there's going to be something else that stands out. So that's big. So number one is I read as many books as possible. And then number two, for the books that actually make an impact in my life, I reread those books on an annual basis. And this is important because Ty Lopez, love him or hate him, one thing that I got from him is he says that books are like old friends. So if you read an autobiography of someone, a book I'm reading right now is a book called Made in America. It's a book, it was a book written by the founder of Walmart. And while that may or may not be interesting to you, he wrote everything about how he built Walmart from start to finish. And if you could hear all of that information and sit down with that person, I would give any dollar to sit down with people 100%. Like that. Exactly. I would give any amount of money to sit down with people like that. But the amazing thing is that if you find the right books, there's people who wrote exactly how they did it from A to Z, and they put it into a book. So once you find a book that you really like, has a lot of value, you reread that on an annual basis, because just like good old friends, you want to connect with them on as much as possible. And in my opinion, reading books is one of the best things you could do to better your life, your business, and your personal development.
Austin, I literally have a little bit of goosebumps hearing what you had to say, especially regarding the importance of knowledge. I want to shift a little bit because we will get back to more of the life-focused stuff, but I want to look at your business. I want to look at the technical side of your business here.
Yes. Yeah.
How important is it to design and develop and plan your product range in advance? And how do you go through that process when, the SuperX we see today, it was a manifestation, or it is a physical manifestation of the work you put in almost a year ago. How important was that? And how do you structure your mind to set up the brand to be 6 to 12 months in advance so that you have the products you want for your customers when you want it and when they want it?
No, that is a great question. And this is something that we've just implemented, believe it or not, over the last 6 months, to where we're really focused on getting ahead. And in business, or for basically the first 2.5 years of me starting my business, I was going month to month. And if you understand business at any higher level, that's not the way you do it, right? So the biggest takeaway that I've had is planning, not just, the day or the week or the month, but planning a year out ahead of time. And any business who wants to be successful in the long term and continue to make progress, you have to plan ahead. And that's not just with new products, but I'll get into the technical stuff real quick. Right now, we've started planning our product launches every single month. We have a product launch every month, and we've started planning these product launches a year and a half ahead of time. And here's the crazy part. A year ago, I was planning this on a month to month, maybe 2-month basis. And it was crazy. I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, and it's very unproductive. So planning ahead is so important, and it's something that I'm becoming obsessed with. I don't want to get 3 months ahead. I don't want to get 6 months ahead. I want to get 3 years ahead. And something that Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, does is people always congratulate him. They're like, "Hey, Jeff, this was a nice year. You had a great year. Amazon had a wonderful year." And he's like, "Well, thank you. But I planned this year 5 years ago."
100%.
And that always stuck to me. And it's more so more recent than anything, where I'm really valuing the importance of that. And it's so true. It's like when you first start, it's stressful and there's scrambling. You have to figure it out. But once you find a product market fit, once you find something that works for you, the next phase is, I hate to say this, but you need to pull out the MBA, and you need to, I didn't go to college and I didn't graduate, but you need to become a business professional, and you do that by organizing and planning ahead. So some things that you might want to plan ahead, just some tactical advice that you guys listening can actually use. If you're doing products like I am, where you're doing new product launches, you're doing an activewear line, plan ahead every single product launch for at least 6 months, if not a year, if not 2 years. That's number one. Secondly is plan your financial forecast, meaning if you want to hit a sales number in next month, you have to know exactly how much product to order to hit that number. So sales forecasts are very important, and that's something I'm just starting to do. So if, let's just say, I'll use easy numbers. If you want to hit $50,000 in sales in a month, that means you have to have X amount of product to achieve that. So you need to start by, number one, planning what products you want to release. Number two, planning ahead your financial forecast so that way you can actually hit those goals. And then number three, you want to plan where you're going in terms of marketing strategies, like influencers you might want to work with, social media strategies. But what I say by marketing strategies is it's really relevant for anyone starting a brand today, is these social medias like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these things. Advertising is changing, and it's changing every month. It's changing on a month-to-month basis. So you don't want to get stuck, relying on some sort of advertising, and then that advertising to go down the drain. So a lot of people who've been in the game for a while, 2 years or a year, even a year ago, Facebook was really great for ads. You would have a lot of success, but because of the iOS changes Apple implemented, Facebook advertising has gone down. So people now are migrating to things like TikTok and re-migrating to YouTube. So planning your marketing and not relying on anything is super important. So always feel free to be like, okay, what if this happens? So plan ahead. Always have what I like to call belt and suspenders, right? So if your belt goes out, you got the suspenders. If your suspenders go out, you got the belt, right? So you always have a backup plan. So back to the point is plan everything ahead as far as you can. And not only is it going to save you stress, you're going to feel a lot happier. And also, if anything goes wrong, you planned ahead. What's worse, like having something fail, like, oh, 6 months from now, this isn't going to work, versus I put everything into this month's launch, and for whatever reason, it's not going to work out. So by your point, by planning ahead in all aspects of product planning, financials, marketing, and then also hiring, we can go into so many different things, but planning ahead as a whole, at least 6 months, but please a year, please do a year, is going to change your life and your business life. Yeah.
What's that famous quote is, failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Exactly. And that's something that I, as an ordinary individual, that's something that I learned through so much heartache and failure over and over and over. And, although I read a lot of books, something that sucks about who I am is I have to fail in order to learn sometimes. And that was something that I continued to fail on, was I didn't plan ahead. But now, as a little bit more educated of an entrepreneur and as a little bit more mature, planning is one of those things that if you do right, it's a superpower. If you do wrong, could be like literally the death of your business. So based off of what Shadi's saying and what I believe, you have to plan ahead, and you have to aggressively forecast where you want your business to be. So like goals, and that ties into vision and a lot of other things. But basically, set a goal, plan to set that goal, and at least 6 months. If not, you do a year, do longer. And that's my best advice on planning.
That is a phenomenal piece of advice. Austin, a lot of people that want to get into the fashion business, a lot of entrepreneurs that want to start their own product ranges, are worried that they don't have the necessary design capabilities or creative capabilities to create what is in their heads. How did you approach, your potential struggles with that, and how did you overcome that part of yourself to deliver the SuperX we see today?
No, that's a great question. And a lot of entrepreneurs, when you first start a business or have an idea, your first thought is, let's just say you have an amazing idea and you're like, oh, that's a great idea, but like, oh, I have an app idea, but I don't know code. I can't do it. Maybe one day or something, right? And a lot of us actually go through that, including myself. But the thing is, though, is something that you might not know. There's somebody else who's an expert at that thing you might be missing, right? So for me, is once I knew, what I wanted to do, the types of products I wanted to do, who my customer was, although I can't make amazing designs, apparel designs, activewear designs, and although I'm not the best at web development, I found partners that were. And to be completely transparent, one of my key partners is Fittdesign. And I truly believe that without them, we would probably be in the dark ages. I wouldn't be on any interview. I would still be trying to figure out how to make payroll next month. And, I would be missing a lot of things. But back to the point is, if you find yourself lacking a certain skill that the business requires, you outsource that skill to
Mm-hmm.
potentially a business partner or an agency or a person who can complement your skill base with your weakness. And that's what I've done with activewear design, because it's not my strong suit. If anything, if I was to go back, I would have, they always say this, but if you knew how hard it was going to be, you probably wouldn't have done it.
Would have done
And I
it.
jumped in. Yeah, I jumped into activewear. I jumped into activewear not knowing. I was just, I was just like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm gonna have a workout activewear company. This is gonna be great. And I didn't realize how hard it was. But thank God for the partnerships that I developed with Fittdesign and all the amazing members on his team, on Shadi's team. I've been able to do something that without them, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do. So having key partners that have skill strength or strengths that complement your weaknesses is integral. And as you continue to hire, you're going to have to do that. So I'm using the obvious thing about brand design, but it comes with customer service,
Mm-hmm.
shipping, hiring, any other skill in a business that you're going to get to. You have to find someone better than yourself to do it. And it's going to change your life. It's going to change the business's life too. Yeah.
It is. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that, struggle with their ego and letting go of certain things. But you're someone who outsources and delegates phenomenally well. It's one of your strong suits, and you move with such speed in the business. So I definitely commend you for that. And a lot of people can learn from uh, the way that you operate. Austin, I want to talk about physical product for a second and
Yes.
the importance of partnering uh, with the right people to produce, these items. We're in the fashion business, and the fashion business is still a physical based business. You need people to make these garments. This is one of the stepping stones that so many entrepreneurs getting into the business, they worry about so much, is finding the right partner to help them make these garments. Tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of going through that struggle and finding the right people to help you physically make garments that you could proudly stand behind. It could represent the physical manifestation of the SuperX brand.
That is a great question. And I think a lot of people who are starting out are going to be, they're going to benefit from my answer tremendously, right? And for some reason, whatever reason, in the fashion and space, a lot of people don't like to open up about what they do. They don't want to tell you what they did. And it's very weird to me. I'm someone
Mm-hmm.
who's very transparent, because whatever I've learned, I've just learned through somebody else or my own struggle. So I like to share things, right? So here's what you do. If you want to start a fashion wear company, here's the dummies guide, my guide, the Austin guide towards getting it done. You get a design of the product you want,
Mm-hmm.
preferably through Fittdesign or someone else who's going to create a tech pack and a product that you have quote unquote blueprints of. That way the manufacturer knows how to design said product. And then number two, to find manufacturers, it's really easy. You just go to a place like Alibaba, or you go to another website that has manufacturers. It could be a USA website or something like that. And then you just type in activewear manufacturers. You message, 10 of them, you send them your tech pack, and then you try to get as many samples as you can possible. Then once you get those samples, after a couple months, because it takes a little while, after a couple months, they ship you those samples of the tech pack and the product you design. You take a look at those samples, and then you move forward based on two evaluations.
Mm.
The person who you're, the thing is, the obvious is whoever makes the best product. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing you have to take in consideration is that your manufacturer is going to be like a business partner in a way. They're going to be able to reduce your costs. They're going to be able to make better products. You're going to talk to them every day. And I still do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your manufacturer is someone you're going to talk to them more than your spouse. You're going to talk to them more than your
Yep.
best friend. So that second thing is, the first thing is a product that you're like, wow, this is pretty good or pretty close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty close to what you wanted. The second thing is, who did you like the best? Who was the easiest to communicate with? Who can speak English if you're outsourcing? Who was very responsive? Who is somebody that you feel like, hey, I could talk to this person every day or frequently, and I'm not going to get irritated, and they're not going to get irritated with me. Because when I say that your manufacturer is going to be one of the people you talk to with the most in your entire business, starting out, when you're starting to put the orders in, I mean it. And it's really important to have someone who can do the job, and then secondly, somebody that you trust to do the job, that you can have a conversation with. You can negotiate rates. They understand where you're coming from. You can say, hey, I want this change to the product. I want this change, yada, yada, yada. So those are the two qualifications in my mind in order to pick a a strategic manufacturer is someone that has a good product and someone you can talk to, easy. And that's basically in terms of like my advice on having, from basically going from like today, here's what you do. If you have a design in your head, you get someone to make that design, preferably Fittdesign. Once that's done, you reach out to manufacturers online. Boom. You get those samples, you evaluate the samples, you say, hey, which one's good? And then you say, hey, who seems easy to work with? And then you've already built that chain. Like literally this could be a 2 or 3 month process to where you build that entire, that's the hardest part of the business. I would say one of the hardest parts is just figuring out like who produces, who designs, how does this relationship going to work? How do I get stuff made? And then once you figure that out, it's all, it helps the business. It streamlines everything quite a bit. So that's my advice from today. No product in hand, no connections to manufacturers, to actually having a relationship with a manufacturer. It's that easy.
I could not agree more. And honestly, the 2 points you touched on are phenomenal pieces of advice. Austin, I want to look at packaging. I want to look at the customer experience. And you're someone that has such a detail-oriented look at every single part of the business, whether it's the website, whether it's the product, whether it's the tags. You understand the importance of creating a holistic brand experience. How does packaging slot into that?
Yeah, that's another great question. So when you're first starting out, you want to, you're not going to know any different, and you're just going to take whatever packaging the manufacturer probably is going to throw in there. But another thing about planning ahead is there's a lot of elements to a product. It's not just the physical product, that's important, but there's also the product sleeve, there's the hang tags, there's the poly mailer, or however you're shipping it to the customers. All of these play a crucial role in what we call the customer experience over here at SuperX, or the customer journey, right? So, regardless if you're shipping or you're running your business from your bedroom, they're not going to know that. All they're going to know is what the product looks like when it arrives at your doorstep, how they feel opening it, and then how they feel with the final product and trying it on. And in my experience, just having a great product is great, and you're going to get repeat buyers, but doing a point A to point, or an A to Z experience where everything is of the highest quality, everything is consistent branding, and everything has your logo on it, to me has been one of the best things, because our gear is actually very pricey. We're not competitive with a lot of other companies. Most of our customers are paying close to $100 for a single item. And that's, now we're leaning into Lululemon, Athletica, and other types of premium brands. And when people purchase a product of that type, or, that costs that much, they want to feel like they're a part of a journey, a customer experience. And you have to do this through all, like basically anything that they touch, anything that they touch, that you touch, has to be good. The product has to be good. The thing the product comes in, which is the sleeve, has to be good. The hang tags that they tear off has to be good. Every little detail has to be accounted for. So in my opinion, you have to think about like what Apple does, right? From their storefronts to their products, to the product box, to everything involved with their products, it is of the utmost quality, and it is all branded in Apple, and it makes you feel a certain way. Can you imagine opening, going to the Apple store, buying a MacBook, and it comes in a brown box or something? Like, can you believe? It's just not going to happen.
It would completely destroy that experience.
That's exactly right. So if customer experience is a very important part of your business, you have to basically make everything exceptional that your customers touch and see. This includes website as well, and everything. Everything has to be consistent branding, in my opinion. Obviously, when you're starting out, that might not be possible, but you want to reiterate and you want to counterbalance. You might not necessarily have the money to make everything nice. You want to counterbalance that, though, with amazing customer service, amazing follow through, everything that, like, other touch points that you can control. So if you're limited on budget and you can't, like I said, you can't pay for all those things, make your customer experience amazing, make your website look great, make the product fantastic. But then as you grow, you're going to want to make everything, every part of the business and everything that your customers touch and see consistent and impeccable, determined based off of your brand expectation, of course, and your branding. We all have different brandings. We all have different types of customers, but whatever your customers expect, you need to, across the board, meet their expectations or exceed it.
Again, another great response. Austin, I have two sort of fun questions that I'd be curious to ask you. And the first one would be, what is your favorite SuperX product that you've ever made. One item that resonates in your head and why.
You know, that is one of the toughest questions, because I always every 3 months, because we do a couple products every month, I'm always like, this is the best one. The two that resonate with me right now, or the one that resonates with me right now, is one we're going to be launching in May. It's called the Queen. And basically this one, I don't know why, it's one of my favorite designs that we've ever done.
So tell our viewers,
really looking forward to
tell the people listening to the podcast what the Queen is.
Yep. So the Queen is it's a collection of 3 pieces. It's a hoodie, it's joggers, and it's a tank top, right? And the colors are green and black. And basically, just to summarize, so you get an idea in your head without me having to show you, it basically kind of looks like the Green Arrow costume or the Green Arrow outfit. He's a superhero in the DC universe. And there's a show called Arrow. So basically what we did is we took a comic version of it. We took a TV version of the suit, and we kind of just like meshed them all together to create a design that I think is absolutely beautiful, with finishes and details that is just, it's out of this world. And I've shared it to some of our best customers, like a sneak peek, and like the enthusiasm is off the charts. And, you know, getting the samples about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I was like, this product is one of my favorites. It's just so intricate, from the design to how it looks on an actual person, to how it looks, you know, a 3D render. Everything about it is amazing. But the problem with making new products consistently, and the problem with always trying to outdo yourself every single product, is that while I have a favorite today, that's probably going to change in 6 months or a year. But yeah, as of today, Queen is my favorite in terms of design and all the details. But in 6 months, it's going to be different, and in a year, if it's going to be different. And I just can't wait to keep coming out with new designs and pushing the boundaries, because pretty soon, you know, I'm going to have a closet full of favorites, right?
Yeah. That's a really good problem to have. And that means that you're definitely moving in the right direction when you can continuously one-up yourself. And even in your own heart, you have a new favorite every couple of months. So you're definitely on the right track with that one. My sort of flip side question, and this is not a question that we like to ask entrepreneurs, and it may be a difficult question to ask or to answer as well, but what is a product that you've made that you probably should have thought twice about, and why?
No, that's a great question. So there's two frameworks when I think of why product doesn't do well, right? And I base products off of sales and the customer response. I don't base it off of design, because I'm going to be honest, everything that's designed in partnership with Fittdesign, it comes out amazing for the most part. You know, everything is great. I judge a bad product and a good product based off of the customer response, because if it's something that's not doing well, that means I didn't make a product that was for my customers and it wasn't the best it could have been, right? So yeah, so I base it off of sales primarily, and it's, you know, I just think back to some things where it's tough. So my brand, we've made primarily hoodies, right? We made hoodies, joggers, normal t-shirts, stuff that's, you know, not compressing, right? We made an item probably over 2 years ago that is a seamless compression. And while the product is fantastic, it's one of my favorites. And any influencer that contacts us, that's the one they request, because if they know how they love seamless, they love the compression fit. For my customer base, it was too tight. The fit was too tight. So think of this compression as like a rash guard, like meaning like if you go to like jiu-jitsu or MMA, those really tight, you know, hugging things. It's not just a shirt that has wiggle room. It's really compressing, meaning if you wear a large normally, you're wearing an XL or a double X in this product, because it's that tight. That one, I was thinking with the relevancy of, you know, everything going on and the design of how pumped I was about the design and how cool it was. And unlike anything that's been made in a while, I thought this was going to the moon. 2 years later, we still have some of this product in the warehouse. And while, you know, it's still there, I know which product
you're talking about, and people should go definitely pick it up if they can, because it's a phenomenal product.
Yes. And just to be fully transparent, because I don't like to lie about anything, that one was called the Panther.
It's a phenomenal. It's my favorite design you guys have on the website.
The Panther is a seamless knit design, and again, the design is fantastic. The fit is fantastic. Any influencers that hit us up, they want this product. That's the product we send them, and then they're blown away by the quality. But just the fit itself, I I got it wrong. My customers don't want things that are,
Mm-hmm.
hugging their body. They're not MMA fighters necessarily. They're not trying to find stuff like that. So that's where I got it wrong. We won't do anything in the future, and that's something we've never made the mistake about twice, is creating an item that tight to the body. But the design itself, we will redo that design, and possibly a hoodie, possibly a bigger fit product, or a looser fit. But it was just the sizing in that issue. So when you create a brand, you can't just think, or create a product, you can't just think this is, this one sucks, I'll never make it again. You have to look into like why. It's not just, it could be a
Mm-hmm.
factor of the fit. It could be a factor of the way you marketed it. It could be the design. It could be a lot of things. But in my experience, it's usually only one of those things. So if you can just eliminate that thing from future products, then you're set for your next launches, and always trying to learn from every single launch.
Like you said, I always try to learn from every single launch, because you live and you learn, and we all make mistakes. And it's a wise person who learns from their mistakes and they use it as fuel to keep moving forward. Austin, we're going to begin to wrap up. It's been a phenomenal
Yep.
conversation. And I have one more key question for you. And it's a bit of an open-ended question, but I want you to take the reins on where you go with this. But when all is said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
Like next week or at the end of my life?
That's up to you.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I actually have this written as a vision, and it's hard to visualize your life, 50 years ahead or however long most people want to imagine that. But I kind of have I like to think of life as as like a book, right? And each book has chapters. The current chapter that I'm in is it's e-commerce, right? This is where I'm building physical goods and brands products like SuperX, like S-Force watches, and a couple other brands I'm associated with. And that's the chapter I'm in right now. I'm building businesses. I'm hustling. I'm grinding. I'm trying to make a name for myself. I'm a nobody who's just trying to be somebody. Essentially, that's where I'm at right now. I'm like where Luke Skywalker is trying to become a Jedi. That's where I'm at right now. Right? I'm nobody yet. All right. And that's exactly where I'm at. I'm just hustling and grinding. That's that first chapter. The next chapter that I have in my life is I want to do something in tech personally, whether it's a software or an app or something like that. And then later on, as I financially become more successful, I would like to get involved with charity, and possibly more things grounded in helping others out and not just myself. So to answer your question and to summarize, how I want to be remembered is, like you said, an ordinary guy who did extraordinary things and helped others along the way. That's it.
I think that is the best way that you could sum up the life of Austin Gayne, and why I think and why I know you'll be such an inspiration to so many people, why you're an inspiration to myself. I can contextualize my own success, my own ambitions, and my own dreams in the journey that you're taking. And I know, because I feel it myself, the struggles you face every single day on the path to where you want to be. And I think there's so much to be said about the simplicity of where you're at and the life that you're living, and how you're tackling and how you're approaching every single step that you have to take to get to that vision of your life. So I wish you the absolute best. Is there something you want to say before we round up? Maybe a piece of wisdom that you can leave our viewers with, or something that could kind of resonate with them, because I know you have so many nuggets that you can share.
Yeah. No, there's so much that I've learned from other people and just reading and stuff. And one big thing that comes across my mind consistently is when you're on social media a lot, people are posting their highs. They're not posting their lows. Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't. And if they do, that good on them. But most people, they're posting their highs and how their life is so adventurous. And when you're actually pursuing something, the common denominator I've found with people who do amazing things, typically without multipliers, typically when they're putting their nose to the grindstone and they're just working their butt off, is 9 out of 10 days are boring. It's the same thing. It's monotonous. You're waking up, you're exercising, you're going to the gym, you're just working. It's not some fun and lavish lifestyle. So just expect that. Don't expect to be in business for 6 months and you're on the cover of Forbes or something. That's rare. So expect the monotonous. Expect the same thing every day, and expect that not to change. And if it does, fantastic. But if not, you have to love that process and love, and fall in love with it. The next thing is always humble yourself and always try to learn from everybody. That's one thing that I have been really obsessed with over the last couple of years, is humbling myself. Every event that I go to, even if I'm, my business is more successful than, the people sitting next to me, I'm nobody. I'm asking them questions. I'm asking the instructor questions. I'm reading books. That fire should never die, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you die, in my opinion. And yeah, that's all I would leave is just, stay consistent, do the right things consistently. And, this is common sense. It's not, this isn't profound wisdom for myself, but just remember, remind yourself consistently, this is going to be boring a lot of the days. This is going to be the same a lot of days. But if I do it enough times, I'm going to be successful, or I'm going to make progress. And you just got to find the things. Yep. And you just got to find those few things that are going to move you towards your progress. And the simplest way I could put this is, if you want to shape your body, you exercise and you eat a certain way, and you do that consistently for long enough, and you'll achieve that goal. And the same is with business, life, or anything. You find those processes or tasks that are going to lead you to the life you want, and you do them every day, no matter how boring it is or how how monotonous it is, and you consistently do them, and eventually you're either going to hit your goal, or you're going to be far better off than you are right now. That's it.
I could not agree more, and I'm so glad you ended on that note. Again, such a note that can resonate with so many people. Austin, thank you so much for coming on Fittalk, the Fittdesign podcast. Hopefully, you've enjoyed being a part of it. We've enjoyed having you on. I can't thank you enough, and I know the people listening to this podcast are going to get so much value out of it. I wish you the absolute best, and I know this will not be the last time that we get to speak together and we get to hear all about what you're doing. Until next time, thank you so much for being on, and we'll speak soon.